A huge pickup for the Noles today as they have added a very, very physical playmaker and an electric wide receiver to this 2024 class. The Seminoles are en route to have a massive, not only 4th of July, but also month of July. Elijah Moore is a Maryland native that is committed to the Seminoles today, and it is phenomenal news for Mike Norvell, Ron Dugans, and all Florida State fans. All right, let's talk about his measurables. Moore is a 6'4", 190-pound wide receiver. He's a 4-star in the class of 2024. He's from Olney, Maryland. He is a huge prospect, and the Noles are lucky to have his services. Moore came into June and his official visit with Brian Hartline and Ohio State named and clearly leading his recruitment. But he's a physical wideout who wins consistently at the catch point, and Florida State was able to get him to shut it down. Florida State was able to not only take the lead in his recruitment, but here today, they get his commitment. Moore already has a really good and pretty nuanced route tree. He gets in and out of breaks pretty effectively and pretty efficiently. Based on his size, his quickness is pretty elite. He just moves better than most 6'4", nearly 200-pound prospects do. Norvell will absolutely love how consistent he is, not only catching the ball, but his blocking in some of his huddle highlights that we're showing you right now as well is really, really impressive. If you get a chance, go watch his huddle highlights after this video. Again, we're showing some on the screen now, but you'll be impressed with his blocking and how much he does the dirty work well. As a big guy, you love to see that. Big guys should be able to block really well, should be able to take down smaller corners with ease. He does all those little things right. Does really, really good, not only as a wide receiver, but he's a good special teams playmaker. He's got very, very good upside. Excited to see what he does with this much potential. Moore is a composite 4-star prospect. He's the number 431st player in the country. He's the number 63 wide receiver overall. But I think that he's got a lot of developing to do and a lot of growing to do, but you just certainly cannot teach the size that he has. Is he a day one guy at Florida State? Florida State's pretty loaded at wide receiver. I would continue to expect them to recruit that position very, very well. Maybe in year 2, Elijah Moore could be an unstoppable force for the Florida State Seminoles. When Norvell got here, he said that he was going to run an offense built for playmakers. And I hate to make this comparison for Moore. I'm not trying to hype him too much, and don't find this disrespectful, but he almost reminds me of Keon Coleman. Now, I know Keon hasn't played at Florida State, but we've seen what Keon's done in other offenses. We know how good he can truly be. Elijah Moore's game somewhat reminds me of Coleman's. He's a big kid, and the frames are very similar. I think that Moore's going to have some time and some weight to put on, and he'll fill out a little bit once he gets in Coach Storms' weight room. But the way that he absolutely fights for the ball, high points it, and goes after it is really, really impressive. And again, that's what reminds me of Keon. I'm ecstatic about having this kid wearing garnet and gold. Speaking of garnet and gold, let's give them a little bit of love, and then we'll talk a little bit more about his recruitment. GarnetandGold.com, the number one retailer for all things Florida State, athletic wear, jerseys, coaches polo, whatever you're looking for, Garnet and Gold has you covered. They're the only place you should be shopping for Florida State gear. GarnetandGold.com will save you 15% if you use the code NOSLAW. That's NOSLAW at checkout. If you're local to Tallahassee, you can order online, pick up in store. You save on the shipping that way, and you get a 15% discount by doing it. 15% off. Again, NOSLAW, NOSLAW at GarnetandGold.com. Listen, Florida State went head-to-head against the best wide receiver coach and the wide receiver recruiting staff in the country for Moore, and they were able to come out on top. You've got to give Ron Dugans and that donk a ton of credit going against big dogs like Brian Hartline and winning, coming out on top. Florida State has certainly turned their wide receiver room around over the last 2 years. I can remember going into the 2021 season, and many experts ranked Florida State as the 14th of 14 teams in the ACC when it comes to wide receivers. They absolutely flipped that on their head this year. And last year, they've done a phenomenal job, not only in the transfer portal, but also in high school recruiting, landing a 5-star last year in Hakeem Williams, having multiple blue chips committed to the Noles right now. And they're still targeting a couple of whales that we'll talk about later on down the line in some of our recruiting videos. We've had a lot of content, but this is just the beginning here in July. I need you guys to do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. We've had some phenomenal stuff to start July already, and we've got some even better stuff coming for you at the end of this week that I am 100% sure you'll love. Something we've never done before on this channel, something that I don't think anyone has ever done before in the Florida State world. You will not want to miss that. If you don't subscribe because of this video, when you watch that one, I promise you will. You'll know what I'm talking about it when you see it. Good job closing here by Florida State. Moore named FSU his leader after his official visit ended on June 25th. Florida State had to still continue down the stretch as Moore basically put out a bat signal to let everyone else know, including Brian Hartline and Ohio State, that the Noles had the lead. Ohio State certainly had a shot at him over the 10 or so days since the visit was over, but they couldn't get back in front of FSU. They could not retake the lead from the Seminoles. Florida State did a good job positioning themselves well and continuing to hold on to the lead that they had once Moore announced it. We let our Discord know that Moore was likely going to pick the good guys, and so if you haven't joined us over there, hit the link in the description so that you can join for free and get more insight and news just like this. If you're an offensive recruit, how can you not want to play with these playmakers and in this Mike Norvell offense? You look at guys like Luke and Cam and Landon and several other blue chips that are committed on the offensive side of the ball right now, and how you have others that are still targeting and looking like they'll commit to the Noles soon. This offense is an absolute no-brainer if you are a playmaker, much like Elijah Moore. Getting a kid like Moore, a big-bodied receiver, a Keon Coleman type, not as tall, but he does fit that Kelvin Benjamin mold that we remember from about 10 years ago. I think that that is so huge for the Seminoles. Again, putting on weight, getting a little bit bigger. He has really, really good intangibles. He's got great quickness for his size. He's obviously incredibly strong, like we talked about. Really good route runner. And the Noles are getting an elite level prospect here. There's a reason that Ohio State and the number one wide receiver recruiting unit in the country were all over this kid. Massive shout out to Ron Dugans. Massive shout out to Mike Norvell and the entire staff for ending up landing Elijah Moore. The fireworks are not anywhere close to done yet for the Noles here in July. I know we celebrate fireworks on July 4th, but they will go all month long until almost the last day of the month. So make sure that you're locked in with the channel, smash subscribe so that you don't miss a thing. Want to get caught up on all things FSU recruiting? The very latest, you can watch and learn more by clicking right here.